The funeral of 17-year-old Mohammed Abu Khdair, who was abducted and murdered, has taken place in Shafat in East Jerusalem. His body was brought to the cemetery through the streets of Shafat by large crowds of people. Ahead of the funeral, security was tightened across Jerusalem. Well, following that funeral, these are some of the scenes which are happening right now. This is Shafat, a suburb in East Jerusalem, where a small group of Palestinian youths have been throwing rocks at Israeli security forces. Crowds of people gathering after that funeral, and the security forces, we have seen pictures of them firing back with tear gas. But on the whole, largely calm. Let's speak to Stefanie Dekker, who's in Shafat. And Stefanie, there are these small groups of sort of cat and mouse games going on between Israeli police and Palestinian crowds, but largely calm at the moment. But there has been a huge influx of Israeli security into the streets of East Jerusalem ahead of that funeral.
An enormous influx, even coming into Shafat. We were in Damascus Gate in East Jerusalem a little earlier. There was a huge presence there, and then just coming into this area was incredibly difficult. We had security forces, cars on the hill, people on corners. Everywhere you look, they would have border police or special forces. Now, we are in the middle of Shafat. There's a line further down this road. I'll just step out and show Brad. There's a couple of youths trying to set up a makeshift barricade, trying to push it down here, because what's been happening at the end of this road is they've been fighting with the police. There's been rubber-coated steel bullets fired, also tear gas, and then further down towards the front of me is another line where some action is happening. We've seen the youths walk past with Molotov cocktails. There is certainly a lot of anger here. There's still a prayer going on, so there is a feeling that perhaps after the prayer this could escalate, and we're also being told that the police are moving in. They're trying to push them back so that basically they'll be coming further in this way, and they'll also be coming further in this way. So certainly we did speak to the Israeli spokesperson for the police, Mickey Rosenfeld, earlier, and he did tell me that they were very worried that this would escalate, and people here are extremely angry. They've just buried the body of a 17-year-old boy who was burnt to death. We saw them pass, the procession passed us just about an hour ago, and then when they reached further down, ambulance men started running, also people started running, and what happened is we're hearing that Israeli police fired tear gas at the procession. They're also saying, however, that part of the procession fired fireworks at them, so certainly a very tense situation.
Yeah, and this has been a situation which has been extremely tense for several days now. We've also seen, airstrikes and rocket fire related to Gaza. There does seem to be an indication that the Israeli government is worried that there will be a full-scale escalation. So there's some talk of now of trying to get some kind of truce in place. Do you get the feeling that the Israeli government is trying to avert an escalation?
I think they are. I think we heard from the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu last night, where I think people were quite surprised with the words he used. He said, if the rocket fire stops, we will stop our military action, but if they continue, we will react forcefully. So some people were surprised because it came on a day when more than 34 rockets had been launched at Israel. There was damage to some civilian homes in Sderot. Also, a soldier was lightly injured. And certainly those are things that usually will prompt an extremely strong reaction. So I think it does sort of put the whole situation into context. Everything is linked here. The West Bank, Jerusalem, Gaza. If Gaza fires up, if there is a full-scale escalation, it's already extremely tense here, as you've seen over the past few days. Anything could really escalate and push it over the edge, and I think that's something that no one wants.
Indeed. Stefanie, thank you very much indeed for that update. Stefanie Dekker live for us from Shafat following the funeral of that Palestinian teenager a short time ago. The scenes now here with Israeli forces out in force on the streets with crowds of Palestinian men gathering.